While we were on vacation last week, we stopped at Stuart Shirley's shop and watched him make a blacksmith's helper. And I videoed that and I shared that here on the channel. It was a 3-part video of an all-forged adjustable work stand for holding work at the anvil or holding up the end of a long bar in the forge, something like that. And it was an excellent demonstration by Stuart Shirley. But in the videos, there seems to be a lot of confusion about hammers and hammer wedges. There are a lot of comments about Stuart needs to put wedges in his hammers. Why are all of his hammer handles loose? And I would like to clear that up because, as far as I'm concerned, not a single one of his hammer handles was loose. And that might just be a matter of terminology and the way people use terminology different. To me, a hammer is something you swing, or something that moves, like a power hammer moves up and down. A hand hammer is swung by hand. Sledgehammer is swung by a striker. But there's another class of tools that looks sort of hammer-like. Those are things like chisels and swedges and fullers, although I didn't bring a fuller out to show you yet. And these things, while they look like hammers, they really aren't hammers that you swing. Now, I realize in some parts of the world they still refer to these as hammers because they have an eye and a handle, and it would be a chisel hammer or a fullering hammer or a swedging hammer or something like that. I'm not sure exactly what terminology they use everywhere. It's different in different parts of the world. But these are the tools that you were looking at in those videos that were loose. And they were left loose intentionally, and I'll try to explain why. Now, these are all part of a classification of tools that are often referred to as set tools. And quite simply, a set tool is set on the work and held there, and then is struck with another hammer. So this is what a striker is frequently striking, are the set tools that are setting on the work. I don't really know if that's where they get their name or not. Looks like we got help today. Smitty's going to weigh in and offer his 2 cents worth. But since we're not forging, he doesn't mind being in here. Anyways, you set a swedge on top of the work, and then you strike the swedge with a sledgehammer. So they're set tools. Now, why do you leave the handles loose on a set tool? Well, there's several reasons for that. The number one reason, you really aren't a lot of help, you know that? Because tools like this are struck with another hammer, the struck end needs to be a little bit soft so they don't chip. So what ends up happening is they end up mushrooming. This is an old one I've never actually used. What do you think, Smitty? It's one that, this is the way it came to me, and before I ever use it, I'll dress this and I'll clean that up. But you can see how mushroomed over that is. And this happens quite frequently with set tools because they are soft and they are being hit with a fairly heavy hammer. That means to dress this, the easiest way to do that is to simply knock it off the handle. And knock everything on the floor when the handle shoots across the shop. So now this tool is easy to grind, and then it's just a matter of putting the handle back in. Another reason to have removable handles is on a tool like this that's a curved chisel or some other tool that has a left and a right. This tool, if you knock the handle off and turn it over and put the handle back on, is now the opposite tool. So you end up with 2 tools, but you only have to make one because it's easy to knock the handle off and swap that back around to go the other direction. So you get a left and a right with only 1 tool. Now, if you're going to use the same tool all the time, you might want to just make a left and a right. But if it's an occasional use tool, there's no reason to make 2 tools to do 1 job. Another reason you might want to have removable handles is simply storage. If you take all these things off the handles, they store much easier, and if you've got 50 or 60 set tools that were made for specific jobs that you only use once every year or 2 or 3 years, perhaps it's better to store them with the handles off of them, and then you just have half dozen handles around that you put on the tools that you're going to actually use that day. Just an option. But in those videos, the tools that you saw him resetting and the way that you reset a set tool or even a hammer that's a little loose, but if your hammer's loose, that does need to be wedged. Just put it on there and strike the handle down on the anvil or solid surface, and now that's on there good and solid for a little while longer. I can think of one fourth reason why you might want to have loose handles. That is because you're going to break the handles in your set tools way more often than you break a hammer handle, because there is more stress on that joint with a sledgehammer and a striker than there is if you're just forging normally with a hammer. So there's more torque and twist and things that might accidentally break a handle. So it's a lot easier and faster to replace a handle that way. So that's just a look at set tools and why they're frequently hung without wedges. Now personally in my shop, I almost always wedge them because I don't work with a striker very much, and I'm comfortable enough with my big belt grinder to dress these tools while they have a handle on them. Generally I'm using them under the treadle hammer, and it doesn't cause as much damage, not as likely to break a handle. But there's no hard, fast rule. Whatever you're most comfortable with. If you want to put wedges in them and permanently mount them to the handle, go for it. If you like the convenience of being able to remove a handle, to dress them, store them, replace the handle, or turn the head around to get a different tool, change a right-handed tool to a left-handed tool, go for that too. Both are completely valid options, but when you see somebody that's got tools like that that aren't wedged, it's probably intentional. There's probably a good reason they're doing it that way. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that answers the questions. In the meantime, get out to your shop, make something. If you got a shop cat, make sure you give them a little love because they appreciate it. Although Smitty's really a house cat. He only comes to the shop when I'm up here. And then only if I'm not hammering on the anvil, because he doesn't like the noise. And I don't have any little ear muffs for him. Anyways, that doesn't matter. Try to stay safe. Wear your safety glasses. We'll see you for the next one.